And I'm like, Lord, I'm so afraid right now. I had let this become defined by what man thinks of me. Enough, please. Like,
Oh, man.
they say that in those darkest moments, you need about 8 minutes of someone's time. And I realized, oh man. And I knelt down and I said, dude, the suffering we endured through our career, we hit on this journey, this 3-year journey, we hit three really dark moments. The first one was fear-based. And it was when they released this investigation to the press without having let me even see it and rebut it in any way. And I saw that frenzy as everyone was frothing at the mouth, and it was just horrible to watch. And we were actually scheduled to go on leave the next day, so I went to the airport with my family, and my mind's just in a million places. And as we're checking in all of our luggage, I had that moment, they take too long sometimes and you're just trying to figure it out. And so you're just sitting there with nothing to do. And it was the first moment I had nothing to do. And I closed my eyes and it was almost like I'd been running in front of a wave and the wave just like collapsed into the back of me. And it's the closest I've ever come to a full-blown panic attack. And I'm pretty sure I was having a panic attack. Heart starts racing. It was all fear-based. And I'm thinking in my mind, like, I got a kid about to go to college. I got another one about to go to college. This is all I've ever known. What am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do? This is all I've known. My mom signed a waiver at 17 years old to join the Navy because I wasn't a legal adult yet. This has been my entire adult life that I've invested in this job and in this mission, in this sense of service. And I can see it's the dream is being killed right in front of my eyes. What am I going to do? And I was so afraid. I closed my eyes and I was like, oh, and I prayed. And I'm like, Lord, I'm so afraid right now. Like, I don't even know. I don't even know what I'm going to do. I need your help. I need you to help me now. And in that moment, it was really cool. In my mind's eye, I saw myself. It's interesting. I saw myself on a desert road, and it felt very much like many of the places we've deployed to, with mountains on either side and just winding, nice flat path. And I looked over to the right, all in my mind's eye, and I see Jesus standing at a crossroads on the smaller path that's going up the mountainside, a very treacherous path, lots of rocks, unpleasant. But he's looking back at me, he's holding out his hand, and he's got a smirk on his face. And I heard in my mind him say, it's okay. I'm going to walk with you, and I'm going to show you each step, and I'll be with you the whole time. And so I reached out and took his hand, and I'm back in the airport. Now, again, this is all in my mind's eye. I don't want to make it sound like, it's like a full up vision, but it happened. And I've never felt, I talked about the lucid dream last time. It was very similar to that. And I'm back, and I was like, whoa. And all of a sudden, we're checking the luggage. I go sit down in the airplane again. I stopped, and I start thinking through, I'm like, did that happen? And I start crying because I couldn't even control my emotions. And my wife looks over, freaks out, like, what's wrong with you? You're crying on the airplane. And I couldn't even speak it because it was so overwhelming. I had to text her. And so he answered my prayer, and he showed me, don't be afraid. I've got you. So that was the first part, what this produced, fear. The second part, failure. And in many ways, I think that's what many men fear is failure, our failure to provide, our failure to succeed. I felt that through all the criticism for sure, but it manifested most as a dad in the middle of all this. Obviously, we were stressed. Obviously, we had hard moments. I was impatient at times. And I mentioned the last one that my youngest son developed some sort of a brain injury where basically his blood-brain barrier got compromised. And so when he gets sick, the antibodies from the sickness that his body's producing jump over into his, I think the basal ganglia part of his brain, and it's like fireworks going off in his brain. And it produces irrational just spirals where it was horrific to see as a dad. And it was like 24 hours. He would, for instance, brush his mouth accidentally and then freak out because there was dirt on his hand. There wasn't, but he had imagined dirt. And so he would now be so disgusted that dirt was in his mouth, he would start gagging and spitting. And he would just spit all over himself and the floor because he couldn't tolerate the dirt in his mouth. He was taking like 5 baths a day. It was really, really weird. And we realized it was neurological, but we were really trying to figure this out. And so I was, as a typical dad and man, trying to ration my way through it. And so he's having a spiral one night. And I said, hey, buddy, just talk to me about it. Let's just talk through this. Like, we can talk through it. And he's crying. He's in an absolute, he's irreconcilable. And he said, Dad, it's a 9-year-old. He was 8 at the time. Dad, I don't want to tell you because you're just going to get mad at me. And I said, dude, I love you. I'm not going to get mad at you. Let's talk through it. So we start talking through it. I wasn't able to solve it. And so at some point I get frustrated, probably with myself, not with him. And I yelled. And he starts crying. And he said, Dad, you broke your promise.
Oh, man.
And dude, every dad goes through this. Just the feelings of failure. Like, I stood up, I could barely hold it together. And I go to the garage. And I collapsed on the garage floor and just wept. And I couldn't press my face into the pavement far enough in submission to God. And I was just like, enough. Like all this other stuff we're dealing with and now this, like enough, please. Like take this from me. I can't do this. I cannot do this. I don't have the strength. I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the wisdom as a dad. I can't do this. Like, please, please, enough. And he answered that. We started getting answers. Got him on a path to healing. But the best part, I walk in afterward after I collected myself. He's already in bed. Amy took care of that, gets him in bed. And I walk in and I knelt down and I said, dude, Dad's sorry. Please forgive me. Because you were right. I broke my promise without skipping a beat. It's okay, Dad. I love you. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, it's not okay. But I appreciate that. I mean, the beauty of a kid, right? I think this is why Jesus says, like, the kingdom of heaven is meant for these, and we should have childlike faith. This idea, this total idea that he's so quick to forgive, so quick to love when it's not okay, when I did fail. That was a huge lesson for me to learn through this process as well, is just, I am not capable as a man to deal with these kinds of things. The third and final one, as we were fighting all this, putting together documents with Jason, I'm talking, we put 3 separate documents together that were like master's level theses and just evidence upon evidence, irrefutable. And I was so convinced that reason would prevail. And as I submitted these, the Navy and NSW would be like, here's all the evidence in the world. You did it. Dropping all charges, total vindication, facts matter. Let's get back to work. I was really convinced that this was going to happen. And the morning I submitted them all, or the day I submitted them all, it was like, yes, this huge weight off my shoulders. So again, back to, I think, my self-worth and how I was defining that. That Friday morning, I get an email from our admiral who had said, hey, I've reviewed all the evidence. I've still decided that you meet the criteria to proceed with this board of inquiry. I still find reason to believe you were negligent and derelict in your duties. And that one crushed my soul more than anything else, because back to my self-worth, I had let this become defined by what man thinks of me, what the teams think of me. And here we have an admiral who speaks on behalf of our community. Like it or not, he represents us all. And he's telling me I'm not worthy. And so when you've built 25 years of self-worth around that, and that's taken from you, it took me to some really, really dark places. And I was driving by myself actually up to one of the foundations, the C4 Foundation up in the mountains near Julian. So I was on the road by myself, just spiraling into some darkness. It's a hard thing as a man when your self-worth gets taken from you. And I reached out to a few friends. You were one of them. You answered, pulled me back out a little bit. They say that in those darkest moments, you need about 8 minutes of someone's time, and it helps you get out of it. And so I've encouraged people, hey, just in a text to somebody, say, I need 8 minutes of your time, and they'll know, okay, this is serious. We need to talk. So you called me, and another friend called me, and it helped pull me out. And it was like, okay. I don't know. I can't explain that. I don't think it came from within me. I think it was something external. And, but it came in my most vulnerable place. And I worked through that with God over the weekend. And I was so ashamed of the dark places I had gone that it was hard for me to even tell Amy. I was so ashamed. And when I finally mustered the courage to, I'm crying. And she said, I know. She said, I felt it. And I was worried. And I was praying. She said, I'm glad you got through that moment. I said, yeah, me too. Me too. And when I heard God say in that moment, he's like, why did you give man this authority over you? It's yours to give and take. You don't have to care what this person thinks about you. You don't have to care what this community thinks about you. You gave that to them. You can take that right back. And what I heard him say in my mind was, give it to me. I define your worth. I value you. You are worthy because I made you worthy. I love you. I have chosen you. I have claimed you. I bought you with a price. See yourself through my eyes. And I realized, oh man, I had to get to that dark moment to even see the chains that I had forged around me to define my self-worth by what man thinks of me. I didn't even know they existed. I had no idea they were there. And they were the strongest things I had to break over this whole 3-year journey. And so it was only until that moment when I could give that self-worth back to God that I was able to shatter those chains. And it was then that I was truly free.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.